Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session created for an already successful client that wanted to level up in their ability to become disciplined and get those things done that they would quite often procrastinate on, or just not do them with the intensity that they would do other things. And this guy was very good at kind of fitness and in business. And he said this phrase, which I thought was really important. And that is, when it comes to working out and going to the gym, he'll do it even if he doesn't feel like it. And we can call that a standard, or we can call that discipline. But clearly it didn't start that way. He built that habit, he built that standard. And in other areas, which were more administrative or those things that perhaps haven't been linked to momentum and discipline yet, felt more challenging. So there's a couple of things here. One, it starts with regression, to regress to a point where he can observe that there was something he now does to a high standard that initially did require discipline. So we're regressing to a resource state. Second, we're associating into a role model. There was someone that he knew that had high levels of discipline, flow states, and high standards, that if he had those same states, he could accomplish a lot more. So we've got disassociation into a role model state and then associating into those resources. And then we've got a couple of bits of timeline. So seeing the timeline of the status quo, and then seeing the timeline if he was able to access more of this discipline and momentum. So there's a bit going on here. What I quite like about the induction is that in this particular case, the client had a place that they go to when they relax that wasn't a place they'd actually experienced. They could remember a commercial for a travel company showing this kind of picturesque beach, and that's what they thought of as a relaxing place. So we actually have that in the induction. What I like that is that most times when I work with clients, the induction is a place they've actually experienced. This client hadn't, but it doesn't need to be. You know, you can have your imagination take you to fictional places. You know, I've done a few sessions in the past based on planets that don't even exist. So it doesn't have to be something you've experienced to be a level of disassociation or be linked to the idea of relaxation. So if you would like to level up in the level of discipline, particularly in certain things, and as I was recording this with the client, I was thinking, I'm going to listen to this recording because there's certain things where I'm trying to learn something new that I know I need to practice more, and I need discipline in that area. So I'll be listening to this in the same way that you're listening to it now. So it's always good to think of where it would be most useful so that you're priming the outcome that you actually do want. Of course, it was created for an individual. So if you do like the idea of a bespoke session just for you and your individual circumstances, there will be a link in the show note where you can schedule that free consultation call on Zoom and we'll have a chat. For now, though, find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, Breathe in a resourceful feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, feel a wonderful sense of release, as it feels like tension is starting to melt away. And maybe you could imagine that tension slowly leaving your body in your outward breath. As you breathe in and breathe out, just allow the breathing to slow, to get longer and deeper, as you realize that the more relaxed you become, the more your imagination awakens, finding it so much easier to recall a memory or think of an intention. And I want you to think of a memory or create the idea of seeing a commercial for a travel company. I want you to imagine seeing, perhaps even just a few seconds, of a pristine beach on a screen in front of you. White sands, clear waters. Perhaps you can even imagine those palm trees that seem to come out of the sand at an angle, leaning towards the ocean. And just imagine that thought and slow it down. Slow it down in slow motion, like 200 frames a second. See the waves almost roll in slow motion. Any movement of the palm trees becomes a gentle sway. And use the power of your imagination to feel like you're floating into the screen. No longer watching a commercial. Imagine being on that beach. Maybe you could imagine blue skies, warm sunshine, maybe even the feeling of that soft white sand underneath your feet. And I wonder if you could imagine walking on that beach, hearing the waves gently break on the shore, but then seeing a very comfortable hammock tied between two palm trees. There is no one else on this beach. It's just for you. And maybe the hammock is slightly in the shade. And I want you to imagine how good it would feel, just like Goldilocks did when she tried out that bed, to try this hammock out and notice it's even more comfortable than you expected. The distribution of your weight is perfect. The kind of hammock that supports you but has that movement enabling you to sway slightly. And I wonder if you could access that full level of mindfulness that you're capable of. To notice your breath, the smell on that beach, the temperature on your skin. Perhaps you could imagine a gentle breeze and the sound of the waves. And the more you notice, the deeper relaxed you feel. I want you to get a sense that the rhythm of the waves on the shore is becoming hypnotic. a slow, steady rhythm that seems to synchronize with the rise and fall of your breath. The air is warm but perfectly comfortable. And as you feel comfortable on that hammock, feeling the pressure of the weight of you on the hammock but supporting you, it almost feels like you're floating on air. And you come to the conclusion that this is your place, the place that is conducive to profound changes, unlocking powerful resources. And as you sink deeper into relaxation, notice how the tension is melting away from your shoulders, your arms, your legs, and the steady movement of the hammock again starts to synchronize with the inward and the outward breath. So now the movement of the hammock, the movement of your breath, and the sound of the waves all seem to be in harmony. Focus your attention on what you imagine to be the sound of the rhythmic waves rolling in. A steady, calming pulse that seems to synchronize now with your heartbeat. Maybe there's other sounds of nature, seabirds, or perhaps the breeze in the trees. Perhaps even the whisper of the wind as it moves through the leaves of the palm tree, but also anything else around you. And very soon I'm going to count down from 10 to 1. And with each number, you'll feel yourself sinking deeper into this peaceful state, deeper into the hammock. And the hammock will gently cradle you, guiding you into an effortless flow. 10. Feeling the weight of your body sinking in but fully supported. 9. The gentle rocking, soothing your mind and softening any tension. And then 8. Breathing slower, deeper, more effortlessly. That's it. And release that. At 7, you feel lighter. This weird paradox. Sometimes you feel cradled and sometimes you feel like you're floating above the hammock. And then 6, deeper into relaxation. Deeper into a mindful flow state. As 5, the world around you seems to fade into stillness, like you are now in slow motion. And then 4, every muscle loosens, gets relaxed and feels at ease. 3, the space between your thoughts gets wider and quieter as your thinking slows down too. As too, a profound sense of peace and calm washes over you, just as the waves wash over the white sands. And then 1, deeply, deeply relaxed, feeling like you're in effortless comfort. And from this place of deep relaxation, your mind is open, ready, as you embark on a journey of wonderful transformation. And I want you to drift back to a moment when you started something new that required discipline, something that in the beginning felt like an effort, felt uncomfortable, and yet over time became second nature. And maybe it was learning a skill. Maybe it was training for something. Maybe something that became a habit. But I want you to see yourself as you were. In the early days, without that discipline, it wouldn't have become second nature. There are thousands of people, if not millions, that because going to the gym the very first time is uncomfortable, they never go back. Sometimes discipline turns something that feels uncomfortable, comfortable. And if you can recall a moment from your past where you did that difficult thing, using that discipline, but over time it got easier, just let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to get a sense that there are some things right now in your life that are like that. That they get easier and easier because the discipline creates the momentum. I want you to think of a moment when you were a child in a playground. I want you to see a roundabout. I want you to get a sense that when the roundabout is stationary, it requires effort and strength to get the roundabout moving. But interestingly, once the roundabout is moving, it takes almost no effort to keep it spinning around. Think of that thing that required the discipline. It required the discipline in the early days, or when that roundabout was slowing down. Fast forward through time and watch how that initial discipline and effort turned into a habit that paid you dividends for years after. How it became a new standard for you. Imagine that is planting a seed in your subconscious mind that some of these things that you find difficult are just because you haven't got enough speed in that roundabout yet. Just a bit more discipline will create a feeling of momentum, and soon they become easy for you. But other people will look at you and assume that you need discipline every day. But you don't. The discipline is just to launch this new habit. Once it's in orbit, no effort or little effort is needed. But let's take you back from the past to someone that you know has certain resources or strategies that would be useful for you. And I want you to think of a specific person who already has that disciplined mindset, the resources or even the balance that you believe would help you the most. Maybe you know this person personally. Maybe they're a mentor. Or perhaps even someone you admire from a distance. Hold an image of them in your mind's eye at a point where they don't just have those qualities, they exude those qualities. They have them in abundance. And when you can recall that person in that state, let me know by nodding your head. Notice how they carry themselves. their body language, their physiology, their facial expressions, their confidence, their focus, their drive. But also observe their attitudes, their beliefs, their standards. I want you to see them at the time when it isn't easy, but they get it done anyway. I want you to get a sense that a new belief is forming in your mind, that anything that anyone else can do, experience, or feel, it's possible for you to emulate that. Their focus can be your focus. Their standards or balance can be yours. Nothing is off the table. So to begin with, just observe them from a distance, like watching a film of their life, absorbing the patterns of excellence they embody, their standards. And when you see them at a point in time where it would be most beneficial for you to have those strategies, those beliefs, and those resources, imagine pausing that movie and stepping into their world, stepping inside their body and seeing the world through their eyes. Something that would currently be a challenge for you is not a challenge for them because they think of it differently. So notice how it would feel to be in their body with their resources, but thinking of something that was a challenge for you recently. And notice when you think of that challenge, it seems more achievable, easier to start, a winnable battle. Perhaps even your inner dialogue is not of aversion or repulsion, but of excitement, intrigue, or desire. You want to do that thing. It calls you. It feels like this is well within your capabilities. Feel that inner confidence, those unshakable standards. It's not only something attainable, but something that the more challenging it becomes, the more it unlocks a flow state within you. That hybrid of capability and mindfulness gets you in a state where time becomes distorted. Things that once were difficult are now easy. Like you've extracted something from the matrix that now has unlocked something powerful within you. And as you think about that challenging thing, imagine doing it. And you might be thinking like how they think, but it's now your inner dialogue. It's your resources. Perhaps you can even feel more determined, more motivated, more tenacious than they would. What if their resources is just whetting your appetite to take it to an even higher level? To move through life with that element of certainty, intensity, but also not obsessiveness. You, more than most, are aware that becoming obsessed often comes with challenges in other areas. I want you to feel just like Goldilocks that you're reaching the point where it's just right. That point before it turns into diminishing returns, that point where you get the maximum value before it leads to those issues with health or relationships. And if you find that sweet spot, the ideal balance, let me know by nodding your head. And I want you to feel this as a feeling within you. Some people feel anxiety in their gut or stress in their shoulders. And if that's true, then you can also feel this standard within you. And notice when you name it, you can recall it quicker. And maybe it is discipline. Maybe it is motivation or flow or power. Some people call personal power the ability to get done what needs to be done. When you name it and locate it, you unlock it. And when you feel like you know where it is and what it is, just point to that location. That's it. Give it a color and then amplify that color. You now have a location, a color, make it brighter, but also give it a sound. Consider these mnemonics to make it easier to harness and anchor this state when you need it most. As you feel that their qualities are merging with your own, creating something more powerful than just your version or their version. Their discipline, their way of accessing flow is now integrating with your subconscious to create something even more powerful. But before we return to the present, let's explore two different futures. I want you to imagine seeing your life like it's two different pathways going in slightly different directions. Each pathway takes you 5 years into the future. But first, let's visit the future where you don't harness this state. Your standards remain the standards as they were before. A future where you stay on the same trajectory, maintaining just your current level of discipline, just allowing things to unfold as they are now. Not a bad life. Some would be envious of that life, but a life where you don't fully tap into what's possible for you. So let's travel down that path and observe you like you're someone else in that version of the future. But observe it from the perspective of the opportunity cost. What have you missed out on? Where could you have been? Notice the emotion that comes up. Is this future inspiring or feeling frustrating? Does it create a feeling of energy and intensity, or perhaps regret? And then take a deep breath in and step back from this timeline, knowing that you have the power to choose another path. So see that other path now, but this time it leads to a future where you have fully embraced your unique version of discipline and flow. A future where you take the action consistently, but not perfectly. This is a future of commitment and consistency, of incremental progress. That discipline is like a muscle, and in this future you train that muscle so it gets stronger. Breaking from inertia to momentum is also a muscle, and that muscle gets stronger. So notice the small daily actions that build momentum and the compounded rewards of your discipline. What happens when you access those flow states more frequently? If it feels like this future seems more appealing, let me know by nodding your head. And then step into that version of yourself. Feel how good it feels to be in that flow state, to have that balance, to be doing more, having more, creating more, impacting more. Notice how it feels to embody this version of you. And maybe that sensation, that resource that was glowing in that color with that sound is more common in this future than it was in the other, which tells you everything you need to know. That you will train this muscle because it takes your life in the direction that you desire. And while you're in that future, notice what you value most. Maybe your inner dialogue is slightly different tonality. Feel how natural this new discipline and flow state has become. That other people can't fathom what you accomplish and achieve because they can't access the state that you access frequently. And since you're in the future, you get to look back at your current self and realize to get there, it wasn't about being perfect. It was about being consistent. It wasn't about waiting for motivation. It was about taking action and allowing the action to create the momentum. So take a deep breath and allow this future you to imprint deeply within your subconscious, knowing from this moment on, each day you are making gradual progress to become this version of yourself. And then feel like you're returning back to that hammock, feeling like your mind has taken you on a journey to the past, the present, and the future. Feel like you're able to leave that hammock and walk on that sandy beach, feeling more resourceful, a sense of clarity, with more discipline, more energy, more intention, and knowing your subconscious mind has clear coordinates for the future that you are navigating towards. It's time to leave this beach. So imagine taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. And feel yourself being sucked back through a TV screen and back into the here and now. Very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken with these resources, knowing that like anything, it gets stronger and more powerful the more you train and use it. And those difficult things become an opportunity to train it. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.